What is going on, guys? In today's video, I'm breaking down the complete Aion 2 class tier list and explaining exactly why each class gets ranked in the specific category. Now, before we get into the rankings, remember that Aion 2 is not just a remaster of the old game, it's an actual total evolution. Gone are the days of the tap target fights and the passive combat. In this game, everything is manual. You dodge, parry, and shock yourself. The devs call it a trinity action hybrid, meaning it mixes modern action combat with the traditional MMO setup of the tank healer and a DPS role. Because combat now depends heavily on player skill and reaction, the class balance is not just about stats, it's about how well a class performs in both solo and team settings. And that's exactly how this tier list is built. We're looking at each class overall strength, consistency, and contribution in both PvE and PvP. And then, just before we start, if you're planning to play Aion 2 on the Korean servers, then let me introduce you to the Lagofast. No matter how strong your class is, lag can ruin your PvE raids or the PvP battles, and that's where the Lagofast game booster comes in. It helps to optimize your connection, reduce latency, and stabilize the ping across global servers. Players often report faster skill responses and improved frame consistency, especially during the large-scale sieges or the aerial battles. So all you need to do is sign up through their website, then download the software. Then when you have Lagofast on your computer, just log in. Choose the game that you want to play. For us, it's Aion 2. Then select your server region and then click boost, and that's it. Now you can enjoy whatever game you want to play with the best possible connection and FPS. On top of this, you will get cool features like the one-click translation tool, as Aion 2 is releasing only in Korea and Taiwan, so to make the game feel like the Western release with the in-game items and skills translated to your language to the highest quality, then you will definitely want to use this. Also, they offer cross-region acceleration, so you can switch between the servers effortlessly and much more. If you're serious about climbing PvP ranks or clearing raids without issues, then Lagofast is the ultimate tool. So what are you waiting for? Click the link description to check them out and use my code KATEGAMES for 30% discount. Don't miss this opportunity to make your gaming lag-free and enjoy the 24-hour free trial just for you. So let's start with the B tier, where we have classes that are powerful but depend on specific encounters. They can absolutely dominate in the right player hands, but they require more mechanical precision. First on the list we have the Assassin, that earns its place in the B tier because of its incredibly high skill ceiling. This is a class built entirely on burst damage and positional play. You'll rely on stealth, agility, and perfect timing to land critical back attacks that can one-shot weaker targets. The new action system gives you more freedom of the movement and manual control, which makes Assassin feel fantastic when everything clicks, so darting in, striking, and vanishing before the enemies can retaliate. The issue, of course, is that it's a glass cannon. You have almost no margin for error, and in Aion 2, where players manually dodge and counter, missing your burst window can completely waste your rotation. In large-scale PvP or chaotic dungeon fights, Assassins can easily be punished. They excel in 1v1s or small skirmishes, but struggle with group utility and the sustain output. That risk versus reward nature keeps them from climbing higher, even though their skill ceiling is among the highest in the game. Then joining Assassin in the B tier is the Chanter. The Chanter remains a fantastic hybrid. He's part support and part melee fighter, but the new combat system exposes both its strengths and limitations. The Chanter gameplay revolves around maintaining the constant buffs, auras, and enchants that enhance your party stats, while also combining in moderate melee damage and regeneration zones. They're fantastic in coordinated groups, where their sustained buffs will make a big difference. They provide constant value over time rather than flashy bursts or healing spikes. The problem comes in solo play or uncoordinated teams, where the long-term support is not noticeable. Their direct healing is weaker than the Clerics, and their damage does not quite reach the full DPS levels. The class rewards consistency and the rhythm, but lacks those high-impact moments that define a top-tier class. Still, for players who enjoy being the quiet backbone of a team, then the Chanter offers one of the most rewarding support experiences in the game. Next up, moving over to the A tier, and these are the classes that bring strong, reliable performance across both PvE and PvP. They might not dominate every situation, but they're versatile, effective, and forgiving enough to be viable for most players. First on the list we have the Gladiator, that sits firmly in the A tier. Thanks to its incredible flexibility and the frontline control, this class can function as a secondary tank or a heavy melee DPS by wielding a variety of weapons from the polearms to the greatswords. In Aion 2, the Gladiator feels more impactful than ever, with smoother animations, better mobility and a stronger sustain through the lifesteal mechanics. They will thrive in the melee brawls and the large battles by dishing out powerful AoE damage while soaking up hits. Their main weakness will lie in the predictability. They lack the evasive options that other melee classes have, which makes that skilled enemies can exploit their limited mobility. Still, in PvE and group PvP, their blend of survivability and consistent pressure will make them one of the most balanced classes available. They're not flashy, but will deliver very high results. The next is the Ranger, who also belongs in the A tier, and stands out as one of the most polished classes in the game. The Ranger combines speed, control and range precision to dominate fights from afar. The redesigned combat system rewards their active kiting playstyle. You can move while shooting, plant traps to zone enemies, and maintain safe distances while still applying constant pressure. In PvE, Rangers excel in sustained range DPS. They're safe, efficient, and can handle almost any fight. In PvP, however, their strength depends on positioning and timing. They can punish mistakes instantly, but crumble when cornered. They will lack the raw destructive burst of a Sorcerer or the durability of a Templar, but Rangers offer incredible consistency. They may not be the flashiest, but they're dependable, and that earns them a solid A tier spot. And now, rounding out the A tier is the Spiritmaster, which is the Aeon's iconic summoner. The Spiritmaster's gameplay revolves around commanding elemental spirits, so fire, wind, water and the earth, each serving a unique tactical purpose. The fire and wind brings offense, while earth and water focuses on defense and sustain. What sets the Spiritmaster apart is its stacked control and attrition-based playstyle. Instead of overwhelming enemies with a raw number, it chips away through the damage over time effects. Fear and silence abilities will give it some of the strongest crowd control tools in the game. In PvE, their sustained damage and utility makes them excellent for long fights, and in PvP, a skilled Spiritmaster can dictate the pace of combat by forcing enemies into defensive play. Their one downside is mobility. They rely heavily on positioning and pet AI, which can be difficult in fast-paced action combat, but when managed well, they become near unstoppable. The Spiritmaster is tactical, methodical, and immensely satisfying to master. And now finally, we've reached the S tier, where the most powerful and universally effective classes reside. These are the picks that excel in almost every environment, from solo grinding and PvE raids to the competitive PvP. They bring exceptional value, performance and consistency. So first, the Sorcerer earns a top spot thanks to its unmatched burst potential and battlefield control. It's a definition of a high risk and high reward range class that can completely change the outcome of a fight. The Sorcerers channel elemental power, so fire, ice and the wind, to unleash devastating spells that can burn, freeze or explode entire groups of enemies. Aion 2 enhances this playstyle by letting players charge spells for stronger effects or cast them instantly for the faster responses. This adds a natural flow to combat, where every decision matters. In PvE, the Sorcerers will dominate with massive AoE and the boss damage, and then in PvP, their crowd control tools like the freeze, stun and knockdown will give them a real edge when played smartly. Their only weakness is fragility. They can take many hits, but in a skilled player's hands, the positioning and timing can make them feel unstoppable. Their ability to swing a fight with a single combo keeps them firmly planted at the top of the S tier. Next up we have the Cleric, that shares the S tier throne as the most vital support class in the game. Their toolkit covers everything from powerful AoE heals and the shields to purities and damage mitigation. The new combat design makes healing far more interactive. You're constantly repositioning, charging abilities, and timing recovery zones to keep your team alive. In PvE, the Clerics are indispensable. Every raid and dungeon relies on them to stabilize fights, and in PvP, their shields and the cleanse abilities can turn losing battles around. They're not just reactive healers, but they also bring solid utility and light offensive power when things are under control. What pushes Cleric into the S tier is not just their healing output, but it's their consistency. No matter what mode you're in, a good Cleric is the difference between victory or defeat. And then finally, the final member of the S tier lineup is the Templar, which is the immovable frontline guardian. This class is built to control and protect, while wielding a sword or a mace and a shield to dominate the battlefield. In Aion 2, the Templar's mobility and the combo speed have been greatly improved, making it more dynamic to play. Their taunts and mitigation skills will let them anchor groups in PvE, while keeping enemies off their allies. And in PvP, they serve as the unbreakable wall that absorbs damage and creates openings for their teammates. teammates. The Templars are less about dealing damage and more about controlling tempo. They decide when and where the fight happens. Their survivability and the leadership role makes them essential in group play, and that combination of reliability and the presence easily earns them a place in the S tier. They're not the flashiest class, but they're the foundation that every great team is built on.